she never went to a prestigious like acting school, um, Bella Ramsey. So like you can tell in scenes where there's no dialogue and you have to play on just like her she's invoking on her face. You can see that in Caitlin Deaver in the 2 minutes of screen time that we get at the end, and I'm like, she played that so perfectly down to like the way the line was delivered, like, and you wasted it. And it's like you took everything from me. Like just what she said and the line delivery was so good. And
Nicole actually really likes her too.
yeah, I'm
Yeah,
like I was so happy to see her. Uh but
it made the
even so,
finale.
anyways, everyone, welcome back to another episode of Tangents and Shenanigans. The full crew is here, and we are going to wrap up this season 2 of Last of
Yeah.
Us. And you know what, guys? I
Hmm.
am going to be happy to say that I will be looking forward to not talking about this show for a while after this.
Yeah.
Really? Why is that?
Well, let me tell you a couple things. For one, we're not even going to get like a continuation for like 2 years. And if the rumor is to be true that there is going to be an additional season, a fourth season, then I'm like, okay, so you're going to take
Oh,
six to
I
seven
think there
years.
is. I think there totally is.
Yeah.
Like I can see it if they pace it like this. I can definitely see it, but I'm also on the fence where um if the storytelling can be made into one season, I would prefer that, but it
I
seems
think
like
what they're
they
going to do is pretty much they're going to have, and I was kind of thinking about this back and forth, is they're going to have it how the season is. It'll probably be 6 or 7 episodes. They'll wrap it up with, going back to the theater. They'll have their fight, and then that's when they'll end the season. We'll probably get like a little snippet of the farm, maybe
Mhm.
just at the very end. And then season 4 will be the whole Santa Barbara arc, pretty much. And then that's
That,
how they'll wrap things up, pretty
that's what I
much.
think so too.
Hmm.
And what'll be interesting is how many episodes that final season will be. Because
I'm gonna guess 5 or 6. It'll be short because you
yeah,
don't need a full-fledged 7, 8, or 9 to wrap
that
that up.
that's kind of where I was going with it, like maybe 5 episodes
I'm gonna
because
say 6 because usually that's the ballpark range for most
sure.
shows that are kind of short, I guess. But who knows how they'll play it?
The only thing I can see them making sense of making it like 777 all the way around is if they explore a little bit more of the way to Santa Barbara for Ellie. Um, she makes it through Vegas, at least in her journal. She talks about the journey of how it took and how hard it was to even get to Santa Barbara. Um, I thought that was pretty interesting, and unless you read the journal, you won't know that. So
They could add
maybe
more
that's
because I did see a small snippet where, and this is just another offshoot. Someone said, like, how Nate, you mentioned how they could do like a story with Joel and Tommy. Someone
yeah.
said they could fit in an episode with Joel again if they really wanted to get some more back story stuff because obviously with him fully gone from the show, we'll see how people do with just the Abby story. So who knows what they'll decide to do.
I have a feeling people will appreciate Abby's story, um, mainly because of who's leading. I feel like Caitlin Deaver is can be a leading role and a leading character. Um, I feel like she can move the plot very well, at least in other projects that I've seen her do. Um,
Hmm.
she's got really good range, so I think people will be attached to this character, and because if you think about it, the show's not supposed to indicate a hero and a villain, more or less showing people that go through cycles of violence, and they're all really the same. After the violent acts is what shapes you, and I think that's what the core of the message is. In at least in the finale, I do want to go into episode 6 before
Hmm.
we dive deep into the finale
Yeah.
too much because episode 6, thank God it was directed by Neil Druckmann because he really paid attention to where things were placed in the episode. Did you guys watch the inside look by any chance?
I did, yeah.
I did,
That
yeah.
was so cool when he was looking at the camera and he was like looking at the frame of the game. He's like, no, we need to move that there. Even if it was like a book or a mug. I'm like, attention to detail. Thank you, Neil. And but I loved that the episode was revolving around birthdays to kind of speed things up. So I loved those sequences, how they wrapped them together. But what did you guys think about of episode 6? The
Trying to,
choice.
yeah, the choice. Let's see. I'm trying to think about. Well, obviously, I do like them kind of bringing that back and building that relationship and kind of, I thought it was going to be a bunch of flashbacks while the show was going on, kind of like how Lost does it, like that
Yeah.
TV show.
Mhm.
But I liked it was actually better that they did it as its own episode because they sequenced it with birthdays, and it kind of kept you more engaged on kind of those sequence of events. I was really, looking for, one specific scene, which they did show, which was the whole, is it the Natural History Museum?
Yeah.
The space museum. It was like a science or space museum. They showed
Yeah,
it.
with the dinosaurs in the space, that, and then specifically the launch with the,
The
what was it?
capsule.
The capsule.
Yeah.
I was really hoping they would do a good job, and they did.
They did.
That was a fantastic job they did with that. And and then I also, I mean, I don't know if I'm getting ahead of myself here, but because there's a lot of like nuance talk that I don't know if we need to get into, but I did like the little seeds they were planting
Oh, with
throughout
the
the episode.
fireflies.
Yeah, like when they
Mhm.
showed the fireflies, and then when she's like practicing, and I actually really liked, and I know I'm jumping here, but when we get to it, I did actually like the added scene of the of what's his name,
Eugene.
the Eugene who gets killed. Like,
And I have
What
a funny thing I want to talk about too when we get towards that scene because
when we
it was
get
a
to it?
quick.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. There's a funny moment if you
yeah,
guys caught it or not.
But no, we at least get the we get like the chemical burn. We find out how it happened. That she
Yeah.
I like how she just openly like said it, like, "Oh yeah, I bumped into the barrel," and it's like, "What were you thinking?" It's like, and I'm like, "Well, here it is. Like,
You
here I
know,
go."
I loved those scenes, by the way, where it kept going through her birthdays because it showed her adolescence a little bit of kind of like, you know, for those couple years leading up to like present day Ellie a little bit. So it gave us like a little bit more character growth, especially probably for, the audience to kind of understand her a little bit more, just a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah, I really like the growing pains that kind of came with it, because the first birthday is all like, this is awesome and super glee and
Yeah.
cheerful, and then later down the road the birthdays get a little more tense, a little bit more
Hmm.
conflict, and questioning authority, and then by the finale, it's like an awful birthday, which was, hard to watch, but it's necessary.
yeah,
Hmm.
definitely necessary. But dude, Jacob, did you catch what when Joel gets the cake, it shows like him meeting Seth for the first time,
Hmm.
and he exchanges Legos.
Yeah. You know what I loved is, like, so we got two flavors, chocolate or vanilla. Pick vanilla, it's easier. And I was like, I love that there's a not really a choice.
Yeah.
Anyways, but yeah, so I mean, just to kind of traverse here, obviously the first birthday is a super fun kind of, like, when your kid is being like the peak kid, full of optimism, full of like the magic, kind of like I almost wanted to say like the age of when you're like 5, when you believe in everything.
Mhm.
And then
Hmm.
the next set of birthdays is when you start kind of having your adolescent, little rebellious phase. And so Joel starts to catch her in, like, and it's like a combination catch of like, oh, you're getting a tattoo, fooling around, and doing drugs. And I'm like, all right,
Yep.
HBO, just doing all
All
of
in
it,
one. Yep.
just all at once. Man, that's a fun greeting. And
Yeah,
oh,
she went
needing,
full Janis Joplin there.
yeah. So this episode, so you have that one, and that one's a little bit more conflict, some connection, some kind of resolve, but changes that are being made are I'm not living in the same roof. I want my own space, things like that. And then this last one, which kind of being is viewed as an adult, like, okay, you're an adult now. And her like level of authority starts really challenging Joel's authority. Um, I don't know how much we want to talk about I think in my opinion, the bulk of this episode. I mean, some of the emotional highs are some of the earlier birthdays, but I think the bulk of like what moves this episode is in the last half hour.
Yeah, I agree.
That's true. And I guess like in summary of like the first birthday, some of the things that stick out were Joel giving Ellie the guitar that we find out that he actually like made himself. Like he not only like assembled it together, but he added like wood finishing touches. You actually got to see the trade craft of Joel's character, and I thought that that was pretty cool that they added that, and it made every reference of that guitar before this point more meaningful when he sees it on the ground collecting dust.
Yeah.
It's like it's because he actually like took time and care into making it for her. And she's just, treating it like some other thing. Instead of reaching for silverware and plates, Ellie just like smashes into the cake with her with her hands.
I thought that
Like again to nod on that innocence, right? The innocence and youth, just being careless. And then even, and this is one of my gripes, like on the scene where like it's the second birthday scene where they go to the museum, and I loved a lot of aspects of this, leading up to like the T-Rex and her climbing it, and that was pretty cool. I just love how like Joel says like, "Oh, so do you like it?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna climb this." Like, yeah, she likes it. But I love how they assembled like the whole set design. Like it was super on point, and it felt really good from from that gamer's perspective to see the familiarity, what you're used to, and then seeing it recreated. Like
Yeah.
it's a good feeling. But the only gripe was that we still didn't get a scene where Joel addresses Ellie not being able to swim. And I felt
Oh
like
yeah.
I felt like it was just something that they wanted to address in the first season and then throw it away, because in the finale, the whole boat scene, she gets knocked over the wave and then is
Well,
able to
in
like
season
swim
one as
ashore.
well, we didn't even get the whole subway scene with the water. They
Right.
put that out.
Right. They cut that out in the first season, which again, they kind of did that to like speed things up. But that's what I'm saying. Like they just threw it away. So I felt like as far as Ellie's development, that was necessary. But it's interesting, time and time again, we see a lack of development for Ellie, and it's like little spurts here and there. So, but again, I think it's just in the overall writing of the character.
Mhm.
Uh, and then yeah, that was the only thing. Like the whole episode or the whole scene was great. I think it just I don't know. That's my critique, I guess. Is it's something that in my mind it still exists, but we're just not addressing it. I don't know. Did you guys feel any different to that or what?
I totally forgot that she forgot to swim, and that makes me even question even more about that boat scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. um so okay, and then after yeah, I think we all feel the same way about the capsule and how they recreated it very well. It almost reminded me of the scene from Left Behind in the DLC to the first game, when you're playing as Ellie and you're with Riley and you're in that arcade, that old arcade, or it's like a cafe and there's like the arcade game in it. Um, and Riley tells Ellie to close her eyes while Riley like narrates like what's going on, the character,
Oh yeah.
and the whole fight scene. It reminded me of that in the capsule scene while she's listening to the recording. I'm like, oh, this is cool. This is really cool. Good job, guys. And after yeah, and it's in that scene, right, Jacob, that as they're walking away from the museum, um, is when she looks to the left. You don't quite see, the camera doesn't show you what she's looking at yet. And then Joel turns to look back and is like, "Oh, everything okay?" She's like, "Yeah, all right, I'm coming. I'm right behind you." And
Well, and
it's like,
it's not even like the firefly symbol. It's just fireflies in general. And like I feel like if you just weren't quick enough, like it's subtle enough where like it's her pause where you'd be like, okay, there's got to be some meaning. And then if you sit and like maybe pause the show and thought about it for a sec, it's like, oh, that's what that could be. Okay, like it wasn't like a big old billboard with the firefly symbol. It was just like, oh,
right.
it's just little fireflies floating around.
No, and you know what was funny that you mentioned that is I was thinking maybe she had seen like a spray painted like firefly symbol on a tree, but then I started to think if Joel had like come here multiple times out on patrol to restore part of the working parts of the museum before showing it to Ellie, like he would have noticed that and removed it. So yeah, I thought it was subtle, but I also thought it was also a nod to the game as well. Remember like the whole bit right when you enter Billstown? It's like a little optional prompt for Ellie, and she sees like a swarm of fireflies that are like around her, and he's like, "What?" And she's like, "Oh, fireflies." So yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. But and we totally get a different birthday the next year because when Joel comes home, uh, Ellie's getting the Ellie's getting like the first part done of her tattoo to cover up the chemical burn from a couple years back, and and then they were like, yeah, they were smoking in there, and and I think they were about to do something else, but Joel comes in to block them and like the parent block he is, and, and then he acts out of a normal reaction from a parent walking in on their teenage kid up to no good. I thought that was very well translated from like a raw reaction, uh, but I do like that afterwards when they talk again when Ellie's trying to like move her bed out to get some space into the garage, um he finally like looks at her and like say, hey, let me take a look at the tattoo, because he realizes that she needs her own space for, she's getting to that point, so it's like, no, I think that's a good idea, but just, just give me some time so I can fix it up.
Yeah,
So I
like
like
you
that he
don't
was.
like don't rush to go into a freaking cold, wet, no heating, no plumbing. Just give me like a few days.
Yeah, and I thought that was a reasonable compromise that he arrived to that, that same day, instead of just letting it fester. Um, but I do like that he, when he took a look at her tattoo and said, yeah, it's not bad. And then didn't they have a conversation about the moths on the wall? He was asking about that.
Oh yeah, he asks the therapist, "What do the moths mean?" And the therapist is like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know I was working." And what was it? And he thought the interpretation was like kind of evolution in life, and they're like, "No, it's death." He's like,
You
"Oh,
know what we totally forgot to talk about?
Huh.
what?
Joel's dad at the very beginning of the show. We totally skipped
Oh
that part, dude. I
shit!"
just realized we just totally forgot about we meet Joel's dad and we finally get that upbringing because it plays a big part at the very end of the episode.
Yeah. Why don't
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Yeah. So can we?
Yeah, talk about it, Nick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So going back to the very beginning of the episode, we get what was it, 1983, right? Where it
Mhm.
starts, and it's in Texas, and you see cruiser, pull up to a random house, and we see in the house these two boys, and we assume it's Joel and Tommy together, and you see Joel kind of consoling his brother about their dad because their dad is pretty much, what would you say, like he's very hard pressed when it comes to his parenting
Well, he's
skills or
strict.
whatnot. Yeah, like
He
super
beats them.
strict.
You don't
Yeah,
have to sugarcoat that. He beats the
yeah,
fuck out of them if they're
yeah,
backing
yeah.
up.
Yeah. So
Maybe he has, what is it called? Aggressive negotiations. What was that called from Star Wars? Aggressive negotiations, or
yeah,
I
yeah.
think that's what it's called.
Yeah. And then, so he consoles his brother about like, hey, I'll take, the blame for, what was going on or whatnot. And then we see, coming in is dear old dad, and we see it's, Joel's dad, and they kind of have like that kind of like sit down type of talk or
Man
whatnot.
to
And I
man
actually
chat.
yeah, and I actually liked the scene because it kind of showed that even if someone is flawed, they're willing to sit down and have like a very heartfelt chat and understand where they're kind of coming from. And when Joel's dad kind of tells Joel like, "Hey, my father was, hard on me, so that's why I've been hard on you guys or whatnot." And the one line I love that he kind of delivered or whatnot was, "I just hope that you do better than me," or whatever that line was.
Well,
And it was just perfect.
yeah, I believe the line was, I hope the day that you have a kid of your own, that you do better than me.
Yeah.
That you can do better than me. But in the beginning, I was actually confused. I'm like, who the fuck are these
Yeah, I
kids?
know. I was like, who the fuck are these kids, right? Yeah. But and then it clicked. I'm like, okay, they really went back because of Texas. That's the only reason why I kind of put two and two together.
And isn't that it's also a nod later when Joel meets Seth?
No, it's
Mhm.
Seth
Or
says that he was a cop.
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, because he was all like, "Oh, like, how did you find this?" He's like, "I was a smuggler," and he goes, "Yeah, well, I was a cop," and it's like, all right.
Yep.
Yeah, big theme of actors kind of saying what's going on and saying who they are. Big theme in
Yeah.
this show.
Identity. It's a big topic today.
Hey, it's like Christian Bale. I'm Batman.
And I'm a duck. All right. But and then once we get to the last birthday, isn't it just when it's the night before, well, it's the day before the Oh, hang on. I wanted to go back to the diner scene with Joel and the therapist. This is something I was telling Rick the other
Oh.
day. I'm like, okay, Jacob, what if this whole scene was improvised? Or like I don't know, like I almost felt like this would have been funny if Christina O'Hara was just on a break reading and in between scenes, and Pedro just came in and just asking her random questions, and she was just like, I don't know. Just the way she reacted to it
Especially
seemed
when he leaves was so spot on. Like her reaction seems so genuine.
it was so
Like he
genuine.
just like fucking left.
She's just like, "What the fuck was that about? Can I continue eating?" Is once Joel realizes that the moths actually mean death and it's not like a butterfly for rebirth, he's like, "Oh shit. Well, why is she so focused on death then?" And because she even says it like, she saw
Hmm.
it's in her dreams.
And then I think that the very next scene is her starting to question like their own escape from Salt Lake City.
Yeah, it's because she was writing that. She had that piece of paper in her hand. Remember before Joel knocks on the door to go to the patrol or whatnot. She's kind of
Yeah.
reading out paper to tell Joel like, did this actually happen? Blah blah blah. Until she kind of got interrupted.
Mhm.
Right. And they're valid questions because, part of Joel's lie was that raiders went to the hospital and took out the fireflies. I forgot that part actually. I forgot that was
Hmm.
part of the lie until it was re-brought up.
But it's nice because this scene is obviously the relationship's shaky because she's not staying in the house
Yeah.
and she's kind of still suspicious of him. And she's has the questions ready, but she doesn't have quite the courage to say them to him. Like she gets really like insecure, and then and then when they're out, it's not this like terrible, like she's not talking to him. So I think it's one of those, you present this choice that's going to come up, and throughout that day, it's going to turn into either rescue in a vulnerable place where I'm, or is it going to come from a place of anger and frustration?
Right.
And it's just like kind of a lack of trust. Like, is one going to come from a full uh barrier crossing of trust, or a pullback of trust? And you'll see throughout this scene that it kind of reverts to the lack of trust. And
Yeah.
I thought that was a really interesting kind of follow through throughout this scene and throughout the day. So I really liked, when she reacted when she heard the door knock. I kind of was like, "Ooh, this could be really interesting," and that like this could go two different ways, and you would still get the same answer, but it would be either a good answer or a bad answer. So
And then and then you don't get then you don't get any of it, and then they just go on patrol. Um, and then she just, saves that for later. But you could tell it's still like lingering on her mind. Like she wants to bring
Hmm.
it up.
yeah, and it builds this tension because you're like, when is it going to come up? Is it going to come up? And so you're kind of like held on edge, and then yeah.
Well, and then um leading up to the scene where Eugene is introduced. Nick, you said you wanted to you said you had things to
Yeah.
say about this.
Yeah. So I don't know if you guys caught this. So right as they kind of get the call, like the little SOS to go help out Eugene or whatnot, and they get on their little horsebacks to kind of ride off. If you look closely to the left as they're on the horses, you actually see one of the crew members just chilling in a bush watching them go on their merry way.
Are you serious?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's just chilling in a bush with his blue fucking coat and hat. Just this old man just looking at him.
I saw pictures of that, but when I was watching the episode, it didn't strike out
It's
at me.
so quick, but once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know people were calling it the Game of Thrones like scandal all over again with the Starbucks cup.
Oh god.
Like, talk about like fear from Eugene's eyes. Like, I totally bought his performance. I felt like it really did
Yeah.
come from a vulnerable spot. He's like, look, I just need to see my wife. Can you give me that at least? Like, I'll do whatever you can. Like, I'll walk 10 paces ahead. Like, just let me be able to do this. And I love how Ellie intervenes with Joel saying like, no, it's too late for you, like blah blah blah. And Ellie's like, no, just hold out your hand, count to 10, remembering what the Fireflies put her through after they discovered that she was bitten and they held her in
Yeah.
confinement. That's so I kind of liked that nod for a continuity thing. And once he was able to do that without hesitating or stuttering, she's like, he's got time, so just let him see his fucking wife, Joel. I'm like, I actually really liked that
And you know what's funny? I liked how they used the scene for the episode instead of
for the reveal.
Joel and yeah, instead of
Yeah,
having us see Joel and Ellie in the hotel with the big bloater or whatnot from the game. I kind of like how they decided to do the Eugene route and do that story instead for the flashback.
Hmm.
well, it made more sense narratively wise, to just have something to go back to. So, referencing Eugene from the, what was it, the first episode. So we had to see what that was about. And I do agree with you that instead of covering ground like Ellie did in the game, going to a hospital and finding like the tape recorder, and then questioning Joel,
Hmm.
I did like that they went this route because she got to see Joel fabricating a lie, fabricating a story to tell someone, and the whole time she's just putting it together. Um, and I thought that that was a really good way of doing it. But
100%. I 100% agree with that. Yeah.
but before we get to that, like finishing off Eugene's arc, his short arc in the show, I honestly, dude, I hated Joel for doing that.
Yeah.
I
Me
did
too.
not feel good about that. And because once he tells Ellie to like go with the horses and then meet up with us when the trail connects, like go ahead, like I promise, I won't kill him. And then takes him to the lake, and I just love how Eugene's just like, no, like you don't understand, like I don't need a view, like I need to see my wife. He's like, just tell me what you want me to tell her. He's like, it's not about that. I don't need to tell her shit. I need to hear things from her perspective. Like I need that for me. And like Joel decided to take that chance away from him. So that was, and coming from, I get it because it's the survival mentality, but I don't know, no empathy whatsoever. That
Yeah, they
sucked.
could have tied him to a tree or something, like Alex said, just keep him outside the border and he's fine. And even if he did turn into one of those crazy things or whatnot, it's just they can handle it.
Yeah,
But
it's a big misstep on Joel's part, which totally just justifies Ellie's behavior. And
but
Ellie
here's
had yeah.
no finish your point. I was gonna bring one thing up.
No, I just think it totally justifies her reaction to him and her like lack of trust with him because just straight face lied. And it wasn't even like trying to hide it. It was like, all right, yeah, you go do that. I'm gonna fucking kill this guy. This guy's dead. And well, first off, I don't know if you recognize that actor,
Oh
but
yeah.
I wanted him to be
Hmm.
like, I don't remember anything. I don't remember nothing. I wanted him to say that. He missed the opportunity, and I was like, dang it.
You know what? No, Jacob, you know what would have been a better line is right before Joel and Ellie like creep up on him and they shout like, hey, turn around, like Eugene. And he turns around, he's like, oh, Joel, you scared the bejesus out of me.
That's right.
Oh gosh. But no, I felt so bad for Eugene in this moment. I'm like, dude, you're getting wronged so bad. And then it justifies the therapist, what's her name? Yeah.
Gail, yeah.
I was gonna say, I'm like, I bet you it's like Gale or something.
I'm sorry, Gail. I'm sorry, girl. How I Met Your Mother reference. So yeah, here's the gripe about this. How does Joel and Ellie communicate to Jackson on patrol?
Walkie-talkie.
Did something happen to their walkie-talkies between this scene and when they got the when they got the transmission to go find Eugene?
Oh fuck.
You know what I mean? Why couldn't Joel just give him the walkie-talkie to talk to Gale?
These are the things you're not supposed to think of when you're watching.
Yeah,
So
the
that
why are you
episode
doing?
can happen.
Okay, also when they're like, let's just climb down this cliff, and I'm like, come on, bro. I'm like, there ain't no way you're making that like casually. Like, yeah, let's just walk down this, and I'm like, you're gonna break a leg or something. I swear
Hey,
to God.
apparently the crew member got down there safe and sound.
Oh, whatever.
That was the only thing I was like I was thinking about in the back of my head. It's like if he really just wanted to talk to her, like you don't think he could have? I don't know. But again, we wouldn't get that scene, and
Yeah.
we wouldn't get the anger that Gale has for him, and we wouldn't get the reveal. So, anyways, it had to happen that way. And then when they drag his body the same way Joel is dragged out,
With the whole blood
foreshadow.
spot on the head. Yeah.
Um, when they finally bring it into town, and Gale like surrenders into Joel's arms, like, oh my gosh, like how terrible. I'm glad you were there, and then Ellie's just standing back there furious. And after Joel tells Gale like his version of the lie, Ellie's like, that's not what happened. And I loved how
Mhm.
as soon
You're
as
a
she,
fucking liar.
dude,
Yep.
Ellie turns on Joel, and Gale like slowly steps back from Joel and then starts looking at him, scans him up and down, and just like, oh my god, just immediately revolted at the sight of him.
Got a
Holy
little slap in there and was like, "Get away from
Mhm.
me!"
yeah,
Monster,
yeah.
yeah.
And
So
that's basically where, you know, Ellie's suspicion just becomes even greater
And you
about
know what's
her,
funny
her
too?
circumstances.
Yeah, and you know what's funny too? When she had that tear and she said, "You swore," I didn't think she was talking about just Eugene. I think in that moment too, she was talking about when Joel talked to her years prior. I think that whole bit
no, she
right there,
absolutely
yeah,
was.
hmm
That's the whole connection here.
yeah,
She saw what Joel did to Gail, recognized it to the same thing that he did to her years prior. That's exactly what happened, Nick.
hmm
Um, and then after that is when we get the speed up to the present day, and or I guess 3 months ago present day, right? Uh, um, and then you see Joel in the in that community center or the church, right? Community center, rec center, whatever, where they're having the banquet and the dance. You can see him like having a drink off to the side with Tommy and Maria and their baby. What's the do you guys remember the kid's name?
No.
No, but I did like how they showed the guy who does the music for The Last of Us, though the actual composer for the music for the games, which was
Oh,
kind of
I
Oh,
neat.
that's
The
cool.
old
I
man,
didn't catch that.
yeah, the old man that was strumming along on the thing, that was the actual composer
That
for
made
the
the
Last of
theme,
Us
right?
games. Yeah,
Mhm.
which was kind of cool.
The well, I still think that. Well, how long do you think that reveal was with Gail and Ellie to
A few weeks, because I think even Dina kind of mentioned or something like, "Hey, you haven't really
I thought
been."
they mentioned it in the episode how long a time had passed.
I just don't remember.
I thought it was a
I thought it
few
was like
weeks, because
I
maybe
thought it was like a few months.
a few
Okay.
months, probably a few
Yeah.
months. Yeah, that would make more sense.
Regardless, some time had passed since then, and they're not really like on really good talking terms, basically just like civil, right? Um, but I mean, the only thing that I really want to talk about in this scene is when we originally see Ellie recognizing Joel on the porch, walking past,
Hmm
and then it lingers on Joel, just like you kind of see him like there wallowing, and then Ellie comes back onto the steps of the porch.
I
I'm
called
like,
that shit, by the way,
you
when we were
did,
talking about it. Yeah,
you
like when I
did,
said, yeah, maybe she turned back or whatnot.
and I'm so glad that we got it, and I felt that even though it's placed differently in the game, I felt that since this episode started with Joel and focused around him and reacting to Ellie, like, growing up, because he got to see, if you think about it, like, he got to see phases that Ellie grew up into that Sarah couldn't.
Yeah,
So it's a whole different kind of surrogate parenting that he's not used to. Um, so I did like how emotional he Pedro Pascal was in this scene. I liked that he didn't need many lines to deliver what he meant and what he felt. I thought that that was really good. Even Bella Ramsey in this scene I thought did really good with the line deliveries.
it was perfect.
I really was taken away with the scene. I was really satisfied with what they did.
And
And
I liked how it came all together from his dad saying to him, "I hope you do better than me."
Hmm
yes,
That's line. And I heard how
Came
Neil
full
Druckmann was
circle.
really nervous about this scene.
Yeah, I heard about that too. Because I think from what he said was he was so nervous about getting this right because he's like, it's such a pivotal moment in the game. Because obviously, the reveal is at the end of the game, and that was the whole twist of, oh, they talked, and this is how it, she found out about what happened. So he wanted to make sure that this scene was done perfectly or whatnot.
and what was fascinating is when they finished the scene, he turned around and saw several crew members crying. He's like, "We did it.
Yeah,
We did it again." Oh man!
And we got the coffee too, where he
Yes,
which was really
yes.
cool. Where he mentioned that he got the coffee from those people up from Canada or whatnot. So I think it's Canada. I don't know.
Either way, I do like that they kept that in there because it makes the coffee beans on the grave a lot more meaningful now for viewers. Okay, well, I do like that closing that episode, we see Ellie like, in the rain, like looking at the theater and making her way. So I did like how they formatted this episode to almost make it seem like as Ellie's walking from the hospital where she just ended Nora to the theater, she's thinking back. Like all of this is in her head as she's walking back. That's how I interpreted it.
Mhm. I agree.
So, like, I guess for me, my favorite part of this episode was as much as I loved the space capsule scene, the porch scene was what I was most thankful for. That it was placed there. I thought that was necessary, especially not just for me, but for all the other viewers that that also kind of like dropped off once once Pedro Pascal was not in the episodes. I thought that this was really good for everyone to see. Like, I
And
felt
this
like
was a good comeback episode too, because the previous episode was just okay. So it was like a nice bounce back episode, and I even gave it, like, I think I told you, a nice solid 9 out of 10 for the episode.
Yeah. I don't know. I actually enjoyed episode 5. I thought Stephen Williams directed that episode pretty well. Even though it was heavy on the exposition, I thought I thought it was still pretty good. But did you guys have like one thing, like if there was like one thing from this episode that sticks out for you, what would it be?
I just love the space capsule moment. I thought that was a great moment, and I thought they really did it a good service. Obviously, I love the ending with them talking about, the confession and kind of bringing that out. And, I really, obviously, kind of what was nice was like, Joel, you don't have to say anything. Like you just answer like he was answering with his emotions and body language, and I was like, thank you, writers. Like, stop like letting them exposition everything. Like, let them just like feel it. Let the
Yeah.
feeling kind of come out. Let the audience feel it. So, no, I like that scene, but I just love the space capsule scene. I always like that. I thought that was just a great scene, personally.
What about you, Nick?
I think the Eugene thing was pretty good. I think that was like my thing, just because I don't know. It was
He liked watching him die. He was like, I just wish I got to hear the gunshot. They didn't
I
give me
know
that.
those
That was
fucking
bullshit.
silent birds coming out from the sky. Come on, show that shit. It's
Stop muting everything. You got budget.
I know. Hey, you guys show Game of Thrones and all that shit. Show him blasting his brains out or something. I want to see.
Damn.
Hey, I'm so hoping for that baby dying. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my god.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Okay, well, what a great segue into the next episode, because there is there is a baby that dies.
No.
Yeah. Well, hold on, really quick.
Wrong one though.
I'm
I love
I
that
don't want
little
to talk about
segue that
this
we
episode.
had. Huh?
I don't want to talk about this fucking finale. I'm not ready.
Oh,
for
come
it.
on. Yeah,
right.
do. Hey, we had the best
Hey,
segue
kid, you're going nowhere. We're talking about this finale.
I got you for 40 minutes. 40 minutes of talk time.
I have so many things to talk about in this episode.
All right. Well, how should
let's just say this was the best episode yet.
Oh god.
I will say, starting out, I was under the impression that Neil Druckmann was directing the last 2 episodes of this season, and when I was watching it, I'm like, this doesn't feel like an episode directed by him. And then I'm like, okay, and then I found out it wasn't. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. I don't like this play. I yeah, I don't want to go first. Let's say that. I don't want to go. I do like no, I'll say this. I'll get us started. I do like how the episode opens with it's raining. Jesse is trying to like calm Dina down to get the bolt out. They say crossbow bolt, but did we see a Seraphite use crossbows?
No, I don't think they do. I don't think
Huh?
they use
No.
recurves.
Why do they call it a crossbow bolt?
Maybe because that's the bolt they used for because it was what was available.
Lame.
Maybe.
I'm gonna give it that defense there.
But
Whatever.
I do like though, and I don't know if you guys caught this at the very beginning when Jesse was interrogating Ellie before he let her in. He asked what is the name of her horse. And everyone, and I even looked online, everyone's happy that in this timeline the horse is alive because in the game that horse is dead.
Oh, that is true. That is true.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. I mean, first scene was okay. You know, I do like the what was it? She's like, I can't die. I can't die, and
Oh,
freaking
Dina
out
and
and not taking
Jesse.
alcohol.
Yeah.
You know, and then getting that out, um, and then obviously Ellie coming in and kind of having her little discourse about like kind of like it starts, you know, Dina has been kind of her rock and there's this whole season has been a constant challenge of like we should not be like, oh, should we go back or should we keep going? And Ellie's almost trying to convince Dina to like leave. And she's like, no, I'm gonna stay with you. I'm gonna stay with you. Yeah. Then she gets shot in the leg and is like, okay, this was fun. And then when she finds out like what Joel did, she turns to, yeah, we need to get out of here. Like
Yeah, I
real quick.
like I know I like and you know what's crazy? And I think this harkens back to the emotions being portrayed. So like when Dina and Ellie were together in that room and she's washing off her, wounds or whatnot, and then that's when Ellie's telling her about Joel and whatnot.
Yeah.
I felt the emotion on Dina, but I couldn't feel the emotion from Ellie in that
Yep.
scene. For whatever
Thank you.
reason, she had that stoic look, like because obviously in the game, like when Dina's cleaning her wounds, Ellie looked kind of defeated almost
She
a little
sh
bit.
yeah, she looked tired. She looked
Yeah,
fatigued.
yeah.
She
And
looked
this one,
Haggard.
yeah,
yeah.
but and then in this one, she has that stone cold Steve Austin look, but it just doesn't portray anything. So like, I was more focused on Dina and how she was feeling about when she's just getting told about Joel, and then that's when she's like, "Hey, we're going home," you know?
Yeah,
Now,
she's
I'm trying to remember the timeline. Isn't this scene supposed to take place later after she kills the other girl and
yeah,
Owen?
and
Yeah, but
and
they switched it though.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't like. Okay, I was okay. Then I was right about that because I was like,
Well,
isn't
because
this
what
supposed
they
to be
did
later?
well, because what they did was they completely cut out Manny or whatnot. We didn't get that in this episode. We only got Mel and Owen. So I'm just like, okay, so Manny is still alive out there, presumably until we get the Tommy episode, which I hope we do, where he's sniping,
we will.
at Abby. So
It probably won't be from his POV, although I'm hoping they do, because that would be really cool to follow
and that's the
Tommy.
backstory where they can add in an episode, maybe, just
Yeah,
to get a little bit more. So
but I did want to mention that Jacob, you are right. Like the even though Ellie had gone through, because they all kind of went. If you think about it, as far as encounters before this point,
oh, she did get beat up by those stalkers, though. So that's probably what the back
e-
scratches were.
exactly. So she was on her back as the stalkers were, kind of like beating her up and taking shots at her. And then after that, they're trying to evade the WLF and the Seraphites. So who's to say, Ellie didn't get scraped along that way? And then in the hospital, she doesn't acquire any new wounds from the hospital, really. So I kind of felt like this scene was placed, I guess, out of necessity. but I didn't buy all of the wounds. And you're right, Nick. And this is something that I was even mentioning earlier with Caitlin Deaver's character, like the range of emotions that she can show in a short, just in the small screen time that we have towards the end here, was able to convey so much. And I definitely was feeling that too, Nick, that it was just like a lack of emotion. And I guess it could be, let's just say that she was just in a shock. Uh,
Yeah, that's why I said she had that Stone Cold Steve Austin look. Like it was just stoic, you know. But it was hard to portray the emotion on her face. Like I couldn't read what she was feeling, and that's
yeah.
where I kind of got lost with it until she told Dina, and Dina had that look like, okay, we're dipping, you know.
Um, I don't know if it's so much stoicism as it is the depth of the range. Like I feel like she can get to a certain point, but it's kind of like I don't know. I think the only reference I could think of is like if you're reading a script and you
Hmm.
see that it's like an like a line is either in bold or an exclamation point, and like that doesn't mean you scream the line. That just means that there's more energy into it. But like some people
Right.
might take it
Yeah.
literally, where it's like, oh, it's either
Yeah.
talking or screaming, and like trying to find that middle or trying to find a different area of the spectrum of emotion. I think that that's maybe where this is having some struggle, because I feel like it's becoming a little bit of a like you can she can get sad, like upset, like she can show tears, like we could feel that. But I think that almost like sometimes these feelings become familiar to us because we've seen that range.
Uh-oh,
I wasn't
Jacob,
like
you kind of cut out, by the way.
It,
oh, am I here now?
yeah,
Yeah,
just
I think
repeat
you're
what you
back.
were saying,
Yeah.
Jacob.
Yeah, just
Oh,
repeat.
all
Yeah.
all I was saying is it wasn't so much that it's like stoic for me. It just was, oh, she's in terms of her range, it's kind of hard to like really emotionally like dive into it, dig into it. Like
Gotcha.
it
Yeah.
feels like it's too broad of emotional spectrums. Um, but I still think she hits these marks. Like I still think she shows when she's upset, when she's having PTSD, when she's
Yeah.
overwhelmed. I think she's still having it. Um, it's just this is a story that has her progress as a story and emotionally, and so I feel like there's just some emotions that seem to be repeating, where you almost want to ask yourself, like, are you like learning anything, or are you just kind of like repeating the
Yeah.
same emotion?
And I
So
think and I think with this scene too, and I was even telling you guys this too, because we've all played the games, and I think it's just that bleed over effect where it's just like you know how people are like game purists where they want to see
oh
certain,
yeah.
and I think that's what's going on when I was watching it. And sometimes I have to kind of tell myself, I'm like, yeah, let me just try to read the room a little bit more with the scene and not think of the game.
Yeah, but it's so natural though to take us out of the scene when we notice changes like that. And
Yeah.
I think one of my favorite analogies also is, as a from a game purist to TV show adaptation or movie adaptation, it's also like we're also in the same book where uh book readers or book lovers and to like a movie adaptation, it's like, no, this is wrong, this is not the way I envisioned it in my mind. It's like it's literally from the same care, wanting it to be what we remembered it to be or what we visualized it before. Like
Yeah.
we just wanted to match up. And when it's not, I think it's a natural feeling for us to not just check out, but immediately, like from a critical standpoint, all of a sudden you start critiquing it. You're like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
And there was a lot in this episode, mind you. There was one big critique I had towards the end of it, but we'll wait to get there. Um, but I did like that we do get more of Ellie and Jesse together
Yeah.
when they set out on their patrol, as Dina stays behind and barricades for them. I like that was another nod from the game. It's like, hey, will you relock the door, block the door for me? Yeah, I'll do that.
She didn't
Uh,
walk it well, did she?
No, but there was some interesting conflicts that happened during Ellie and Jesse's journey to try to track down Tommy so that they can all regroup and then head home back to Jackson. And one of those things was when they were walking, they run into, they have some conversations. I'm not even going to like get into that unless
Mhm.
there's something that really like struck your
Uh,
guys' fancy.
Nothing
Um,
stuck out. It was more or less uh
because Ellie like
Jesse just
spills the beans on Dina's pregnancy,
I
and then
I did like how they put that in. That kind of made me laugh because it was almost the exact same way how she told Jesse in the game of how he found out because of that accidental oopsie, you
yep.
know. But someone kind of joked, it's like, oh, he probably found out with all those fucking pregnancy tests on the floor, you know.
Oh, and they never cleaned up, huh?
Yeah, they never cleaned it up. Yeah, because like
Also,
she,
yeah, I think my one critique, I like Jesse's character,
Yes, she's
especially in
yeah,
great.
this scene. I think what I'm noticing a pattern with the dialogue, which we've already discussed, is like the writers are leaving too many like breadcrumbs of dialogue, so that
yeah.
I have to know what to feel like. Like he could have just made one comment and then maybe asked like, "Is she pregnant?" Where he was more like, "No, she said she couldn't," and then she couldn't
It
have
was like
alcohol, and
prodding, right? It was
yeah,
almost
and
like
like
prodding. Yeah,
yeah, you're like progging, and I'm just like, you don't need to like we're not we don't this isn't a detective case. Like we're not lawyers here. Like this is a story. You don't need a lawyer like every like kind of plot point or any kind of reveal. Like it's kind of like when we were talking about when they were like over complicating the tactics when they were like, all right, well, make sure you do this, make sure,
oh,
Yeah, from
and
the
you're
right,
like,
outside.
yeah.
you don't need to do that at this stage. Like you're treating the audience as like as if they're dumb. No, like Jesse could have easily just been like, hey, she said that she couldn't die. Like, is she pregnant? Like, just even like that's enough for me to be suspicious and ask the question. That's it. I
Yeah,
just
I,
because
felt like
then
they were asking too many,
yeah,
too
because
many,
he
like,
kept
oh well,
saying about the
she said this and did
whiskey and
this and did
this.
that, and
Yeah.
it's like,
Hmm.
no, we don't need that much dialogue to like get this out. So,
well, it was interesting because when Dina's like saying all of that, Jesse realizes like back in the beginning, Jesse realizes that she's just freaking out because she's in pain. And out of love, I think he tells her like, Dina, shut the fuck up. Like like he's trying to calm her down because they have history together. So
Yeah.
they both trust each other. And Dina's in a very vulnerable state where she is worried that she's gonna bleed out. Um, and I thought it was a smart decision to push the bolt through instead of pull it, because that would just do more damage trying to pull that arrowhead out.
hmm
It would just tear everything up, especially if it was close to an artery. Like he's like, no, this makes the most logical sense is just to push it out and then we'll bandage it. Um, but I think when she denied the liquor, you know what I thought of? It made me think of the use of the joint. Like the whole gas mask and the joint that, or several joints that Ellie claimed to have taken when Jesse and Ellie were previously on patrol together back at Jackson. Um, I thought that maybe that was going to come into play, but it doesn't. And this is another plot device that it's like, no, I can't drink it. I'm not going to drink it. And no, I can't die. I think it can also just be translated from like fear. Like I can't die. Like nobody wants to die if, when they get like a wound like that and they're thinking that it could be a mortal wound. It's, I think that's like a natural reaction, um, but I think Jesse was just trying to put two and two together, like just like we would, like you would
Yeah.
overthink in a situation like that. Um, but because any other person before getting excruciating pain like that and they're offered, you want a shot? Yeah, I'm gonna take it. But no, Jacob, you are right though. Like every amount of screen time that Jesse gets, I feel like it's well deserved because a part of him is still conflicted because he's angry at Ellie for all of them being there in the first place. So he's still questioning her motives being here, even though he knows who it's for. he still has a lot of value with Jackson and the community. And Ellie burns him on this and ridicules him on this several times. Like, it's fuck you in the community. Like, it's always the community for you. And it's
Yeah,
like
I
that's
just
what.
love how he lands on the moral argument.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
think that he's like, hey, we need to be rational. Like, we can't act impulsively, we can't act emotionally, and we have to think about others. And Ellie right now is just being like the complete opposite of that, because Joel's gone. There's no, like, I mean, yeah, the only justice you're going to get is the satisfaction that you're going to get. This isn't for anyone. And the argument for it is really weak. It's just an emotional argument. And he is clearly the, like Tommy can't be, because Tommy's Joel's brother. Jesse is not only a competitor romantically to Ellie, but also a challenger in her moral argument. And so I like, whenever he comes on, I love it, because, like, yeah, there's the whole scars thing that happens, which, someone gets pulled and they start like stripping him, and I'm like, okay, I don't know why we're doing that,
And
but
it's the
yeah,
same guard. It's the same jackass
Yeah.
guard.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and she wants to go take care of it, and he's like, it's 6-2. This isn't our conflict. Like, we do not need to be in this fucking war. And she's like, fuck you, but this is bullshit. And then when if they hear Tommy's gunshots, and he's like, we need to go help Tommy. Like, he's the
Yeah.
living one. Like, he's the one that's important. And she's like, oh, he'll pin him down. And then it's like, yeah, but what if more
Yeah.
show up? Oh, well, he'll keep pinning him down. And I'm like, come on, like, Ellie.
And
Yeah.
you know what's ironic about that is when she gets to the dock and she's about to fire that gun, and all of a sudden the fucking army shows up. It's like,
You see a
yeah,
lot
that would
more
have
boats.
happened. Yeah, it's like that would have happened if you would have said, "Hey, Tommy can hold out," because the whole army could show up.
Well, and I think she kind of learns, or like, even though she had those emotional feelings, I think that it's challenging her, and it's getting to her, in that she goes, you know what, like, I'm gonna let them wait. Like, that's not, like, I can't start that conflict. Um, and so I know I skipped a little bit, but is there really, to be honest, is there much? Oh, then
Well, no, no, no.
Well,
We're
uh,
fine
yeah,
because
because I think the only thing we got was when they went to the bookstore and they still had some more dialogue, and it was more or less like, oh, them going back and forth. But
Ellie
the only
finds the
thing
book.
yeah,
Ellie
and
finds
which
the
was a
book
cool
for the
callback
baby.
to, the game, the little book or whatnot. So,
also just being like, community versus individual, like, motives, things like that.
yeah.
No, because the previous scene just basically just set
Kept
up like.
rehashing more stuff between the three of them.
Well, no, 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 two of them, because Jesse and Ellie are together right now.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
no, like
well, well. I was
that
just
was.
saying, like how they were meant, like he was mentioning, like how he loves Dina in a certain way, then versus Ellie loves her in a certain way. Like that whole conversation they had in the bookstore. That's what I was kind of getting at.
Well, I mean, and Jesse even comments like, I can see how much you love Ellie, and Dina loves you in a way that she doesn't love me.
But I'm gonna be the dad.
Yeah.
But I do love. I will say though, I do love how it's sprinkled in there that just part of Jesse's lines is, "I'm not dying for them, like I'm not dying
Yeah.
for any of them." So especially if I have a kid to go back to, like I'm gonna do this. I love how immediately he just like like he reprioritizes his reasons for being there. He's like, now I have even more of a reason to go back to Jackson because I have a kid on the way.
Hmm.
Um, and even if I'm not in the relationship with the mother, that's my kid, you know?
Hmm.
So I did like how powerful that they show Jesse to be just as a leader from a leader perspective. Like he's someone that strategizes. He's someone that can think on his feet, and he cares for everyone involved within the community. Like he's able to put others before his own pleasures or indulges. So I do like that they touch up on that several times in this episode. But leading up to the separation of Ellie and Jesse, Ellie says that she's going to go try to track down Tommy on her own while Jesse goes back to the theater. I guess that's the bit of dialogue I forget when they separate.
I thought Jesse was going to go for Tommy, and she was going to go toward the aquarium, and then he just tells her good luck or whatnot.
Yeah, that's what I
Oh,
thought. That's what I thought.
Yeah, and then what happens is it cuts to black, and then we get Isaac because it kind of sprinkles in Abby's status within the WLF, and
did not like this scene. It did not need to
I
exist.
Okay, let's talk about it.
Yeah,
It
I
does
I
was
not
like
need to.
talking about
too.
It does
either.
not need to
So,
exist. There's no
I
fucking
know.
point.
So
You know what this.
here's-
You know what all this scene needs to be is her showing up, them talking about some plan, and then him just being like, "Where's Abby?" And then that's
yeah,
all you have to.
because it was
You don't need to
interesting
do this whole bit about it.
Yeah, because he kept talking about how she's going to be the new leader if there needs to be one, and it almost seemed
I
like they're
didn't
trying
buy
to
it.
get her they try to give her a status like she's like
Yeah.
some sort of commander, and it's like they don't need to do that. Like, it's I don't know.
No, I'm so glad you brought it up because I was conflicted in that delivery too. Because I mean, I understand where Isaac is coming from because he's talking to Hanrahan about like their siege on Seraphite Island. He's like, this is end game for them, us, or all collectively. Like none of us may return tomorrow and after tomorrow. And I want to make sure that someone here is going to lead the rest of the WLF, like to paradise or whatever the next plan was.
We could have gotten the
That's not even
scene next
addressed.
season. I think it would have fit better if we got
Yeah,
the scene shortened, like you said, Jacob. But next season, when they're actually showing the siege on Seraphite Island,
the only thing in this scene that you need is for him to go, okay, we're about to do this. Where's Abby though? Like that's the
Yeah.
maximum that you need to have. Everything else in this doesn't need to happen.
No.
Like especially with the future scenes that come up that I have even more critical thought about.
Oh yeah, I bet you we're all
like-
on the same page.
I'm like, why is this here? Like we could be showing so many other things right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's all I gotta say about that.
Okay,
Yeah.
but hang on, because I feel like we're all on the same page and we're all gonna like gripe about the same scene. So I'm just gonna speed things up.
Yeah.
Once Jesse prioritizes that, no, like we need to look for Tommy, and Elliot like remembers what Nora had told her. She's like, all she told me in her delirium was whale and wheel, and she pinpoints those landmarks at the aquarium, and she's like, okay, this is where I'm going. And then they split up, and Ellie continues on her journey, on her vengeance quest. And once she gets to the dock, she then sees a small patrol of what she thinks are like WLF. And then she sees like one boat coming. And yeah, like even from that distance, you're really going to try to fire with that sidearm? Where is her rifle? What happened to her rifle?
And here's the thing too, with this scene in particular with the boats, and then they show them heading off to the island. That's all they should have showed, and leave it at that. Because
yes,
here's the thing, I know the next scene has to do with they want to show parallels between Ellie and Abby's journey together, but it just is not needed. If they would just show the island in the background, I would have been okay with it. And
I 100% agree. I'm like, why are we showing? Like, why is she on this island? Why are we showing this whole scene? I'm like, all you need to do is that explosion that they show. Put that explosion somewhere where you're just kind of like, what does that mean? Like, why did that explode?
Yeah,
that's all you needed.
Yeah,
you didn't need to do this whole like, I'm
grabbing.
here,
Because here's the thing: this whole scene where Ellie gets grabbed and hung, they should say that for Abby, because that's what's going to happen. Because obviously, and we'll get into it when we get to the final scene of the show with the little things we see. It's that extra. It's almost like they showed the Seraphites, and now they're showing that they don't give a shit of whether or not you're with the WLF or not. They're going to just, even that kid was just like, yeah, you're fucking dead. But it's just, it's that extra stuff that wasn't needed, and they could have done so much better. And like you guys said, we could
No,
just
they're
sell the
rushing it.
island, a couple
Yeah.
booms, and then be fine with it. But
No, they're
yeah,
rushing moments and they're rushing world building at the expense of moments.
So, so
Yeah.
no, so here's the thing. So it's like I agree with everything you guys said. Jacob, you said it perfectly because that's exactly what I was thinking is
mm-hmm.
you already see the island in the background. I don't understand why this should be a focus right now, but I feel like for the show writer, at least for this episode, um, they wanted to sprinkle in uh elements that are going to be like a forward threat in the next season just to keep your investment. I think that was the intention. I don't think it was quite delivered in the way that they
Yeah.
wanted, but that's just my speculation. But once that wave like hits Ellie and then she like drifts over because she doesn't know how to swim, right? So
Yep.
she drowns carrying all that gear, the backpack included, all that gear. She doesn't sink, but she just floats seamlessly to the island. And then the little man child, children of the corn,
I have you guys noticed
sees
how long
her.
she stayed on the ground after she was on that fucking beach looking at that kid? I'm
It's
like,
just
just get up.
it's just weird. It's
I
weird. And
it felt forced. It was almost like a force. It just was so forced.
all
And
of it
yeah,
was forced. The way that she lingers, and then they just capture her and drag her, take out her side. And this is what's funny is she's walking around like a cowgirl with two holsters on her hip, and they only pull out her Beretta. They only pull out one of the pistols and drops it on the ground. She could have pulled out the revolver. They didn't bound her wrists, did they?
Yeah, I know. I was like, why didn't we bind wrists here? Like,
Huh?
what are we doing? What are we?
So
I love how the little kid was like, execute. I'm like, what is
yeah.
this
yeah,
shit? I'm
I'm
like, what
like,
is this?
this is
That's the
this
only
is
part I liked was the fucking kids like, no, you're dead, bitch.
You're
no.
dead to me. And I'm like, oh my God.
You know what it was? This is the in another universe. This is one of the younglings, descendant,
Oh God,
Oh
and he's
God.
getting revenge on
it's Lev's
on
cousin.
Anakin.
You guys are funny.
No, I think the only reason they did it is maybe two reasons. One is because Neil Druckmann actually created this, and you can see it in like I remember seeing it in concept arts in the second game when you unlock it. Uh, there is a segment where he wrote out like Ellie making it to Seraphite Island and checking it out
Mhm.
briefly. But I think that was maybe his creative direction in adding it in this episode.
Yeah, probably.
But I mean, it was written, so I don't know. I feel like he had a play in it, but it took me away from the episode. It didn't make sense being there. But I have to just like separate from that.
And here's the
Um,
thing too, like, and this is like, I know they wanted to show parallels, like, oh, Abby's in the same spot as Ellie, but the thing is, they've been doing fine with that because obviously we've seen the crane a couple times in the last couple episodes. So if they would have just showed the island and then, like, Jacob, how you mentioned, you just had the explosion in the background, that would have been perfect, and that would have been done, and we don't have to go on that island for
Yeah,
that
because it
little.
piques curiosity, but you didn't like. You're almost like it's just enough to pique your curiosity, not enough to be like you saw a little bit and you're like, ah, no, I'm okay. Like
Yeah.
you want it to have a value add when they actually show it. I feel like this just did more harm than good, and I'm like, I don't know why we thought this was a good idea.
Yeah.
Well, here's a question for you guys, like, because this is something that I think of all the time when I watch like new movies. It is relative, I assure you. But do you think that the reveal of this island and showing Ellie going through something that Abby is going to go through pretty much identically, do you think this is also a way for writers to like force feed or spoon feed
Yeah.
audience,
Oh yeah.
because I feel like there's not a lot of directors and writers out there that are able to successfully imply something that happens and show it. I mean, there are out there. I'm not saying that they don't exist, but I felt like that could have really worked in this episode. Um, and I just felt like it was another iteration of, hey, I want to show you this and show you why it's important, because we're going to come back to this later. But you
Yeah,
need to
and
know what's going on.
I know, and I think they're just trying to show us, like, yeah, the Seraphites will not know the difference between just a normal person and the WLF at this point. Like, they just think you're an enemy, pretty much, and it's like, I get that, but they just don't need to show it, until, because we're going to get all that stuff anyways for season 3. So it's like they just, I don't know. It's just more added on stuff that we just don't need.
It's
Yeah.
got at this point, Nick. I like to call it gobbledygook, because they've given it to us since the beginning of the season, introducing the Seraphites and trying to humanize them.
I still hated the reveal at the beginning of the season. I wish they cut that bit out where they're trying to humanize them and
Yeah,
keep the mystery with them a little bit more. So I think for me, it's just that's my only gripe with this full season is how they're dealing with the Seraphites. It's like I want them to keep that mystery going. Like I know they're still throwing little tidbits of the god or their goddess that they kind of
the prophet.
believe in. Yeah, the prophet, and even they showed another one where it's like, oh, there's another prophet that they know, because obviously the one we saw in this episode was a little bit different. So
Yeah,
who the hell knows at this point?
yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'm glad that we actually do get the aquarium after this, because I'm
Yeah.
like, I need a refresh. I need a palate cleanser from what I just watched, whatever the fuck that was.
Uh,
But
Just to feed off this, I think it is uh, the I think these are symptoms of either the screenwriter or the writer having a lack of confidence in their own writing. Like
I
it's
think you're
this,
right.
yeah, I think
yeah.
it's them not feeling confident about their own work, and they're like, well, let me just keep showing you more world building, and let me just keep showing you more things that are going to come to like keep you engaged. Like I think they're worried about general engagement.
I
Um,
wonder if a little bit of excitement kind of plays into it too, because obviously the writers are on the show for a reason, and they're probably fans of the game. And I'm wondering if that, like, how I was kind of saying that little bleed over effect kind of happens where they're getting excited for certain things that are going to be happening, that they just start to add too much stuff when they just don't need it until, later on or whatnot.
mhm.
The director for this episode, she's her name is Nina Corrado, and um, she's recognized for 56 episodes of like The Mentalist, a couple from the remade Perry Mason, um, and I think this was just an opportunity for her to have a chance at directing for a very trendy, relevant show. So for her, I think this is it's a big step in her career. But with what you were saying, I think you're right. Like it, basically what you and I both were saying, Jacob, is no trust in the audience, and trying to like spoon feed them information that is relevant, but maybe it's just a little too much to take in, to digest, because we're not going to get a continuation for 2 years. So it's like, just overall, the season, pacing wise, it seemed off. I think 4 out of 7 episodes were pretty good, like pretty good, really good, I should say. The first season, I think collectively, I enjoyed all the episodes,
Yeah.
including the episodes I didn't even realize I would enjoy, because it was something completely off the script from the game, and I'm like,
My
wow, I
favorite
love
episode
this.
was Billstown. That was my favorite episode. Like that whole
Episode 3,
story
right?
was, yeah.
That's exactly what I'm referring to. It's like I didn't
Yeah.
realize I needed to watch an episode of Bill with Frank, because in the game we just see Frank,
And the
we see
note.
Frank's body and Bill reacting to it, and then we see a note from Frank, but it's at the end of their relationship, and we realize that they didn't have a good last conversation with each other. But in this show, it's like, let's give these characters their time. And it was a beautiful episode. Regardless if anyone had anything bad to say about it for their own reasons, I loved it. I thought it was a
Yeah.
beautiful episode. I thought it was great that they even sprinkled in Joel and Tess and how their relationship formed for trading resources. I really liked that. So this, I don't know, just this season feels different, and I have to say, like, the second game feels different than the first. So as much as I wanted this second season to, at least from a personal, how should I say, selfish reason, I was hoping that this show would do justice for the game, um, because I felt like the game was conflicted, and I'm still feeling that pattern of confliction even in the second season.
I
And I
agree
feel
with you
like
on that.
it's even going to
Yeah.
happen in the third season, but at least I'm excited that Caitlin Deaver is going to be leading the show. At least I hope. I don't know. That's I don't want to go on a big rant, but
Yeah.
it's interesting how I feel right now that this season is over. But I do want to. Okay, so away from that tangent, I do want to get back to the aquarium, because I did like that we saw the confrontation with Ellie, Owen, and Mel, that stayed the same at least. But did you guys notice that there was another party that was missing?
Oh, the dog, right?
The
Isn't the
dog.
dog
Yeah.
bear?
No dog in this episode.
Yeah.
No,
I did like
I think
how
that's the right call. I don't think you should
It's
have
totally the
killing a
right
dog.
call, but it's so obvious.
It's the right call to not have that. You'd get some pretty pissed off fans or viewers.
No, I 100% agree. But knowing what we had to go through with the game, it's like, okay, I'm glad. Like, save the viewers what we had to experience.
Yeah.
But
No, I thought the scene was good. Obviously I love the kind of homage to Joel's tactic of interrogation, which is like, you're gonna
Yeah.
point on the map and then you're gonna point on the map and they better
Yep.
both be the fucking same.
yeah,
And I kind of, I like the line where he was like, you're just gonna kill us, and she's like, I'm not. Like, you could tell she's like, just let me just do this. Like, don't make
Yeah.
me that
Don't force
decision.
my hand.
Like
Yeah.
I'm not an asshole. Like, don't come on. I'm not just a stone cold killer. Like, just do this for me and I'll let you go. And then Owen's like, yeet, and then gets yeeted right back.
Yep.
And
no, hang on. In that scene, Ellie reacts out of the hesitation and the shock. She reacts by pulling the trigger. I don't think it was an intentional pull.
oh, of course not. Of course not.
No.
No, that line when she says like, I'm not just like, tell me what I want. Like, that already shows the weakness and shows the hesitation, which I think Owen's going to try and like kind of take advantage of and
Mhm.
capitalize on. Which, by the way, like, Abby's friends are some real diehard people, man. They're like, fuck you, I'm not telling you shit.
Their
Like,
lips
go
are
ahead and
sealed.
kill me.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
man, like, Ellie, your intimidation checks are low. One, what is the fucking Kool-Aid that these dudes are drinking? Like, just tell them, like, oh, she's there. Like, I'm just surprised they're all willing, like, so willing to die for someone like that. When I think all of them were like, this is a stupid mission. Like, we shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
So, no, I just, Yeah, obviously. Now, I think it was the safe bet, but I remember what isn't it like Ellie stabs? What's her name?
Mel.
Yes.
Yeah, because
Mel.
Mel tries to stab Ellie after she shoots Owen.
Yeah, and this is more of like a grace, and I'm like, okay. I'm like, because that is a very controversial scene, especially because I would say gaming audiences and viewing audiences have different tolerances. And I was
Hmm.
like, oh, I can see how you did it that way.
So,
Yeah.
well,
Mm,
I did have a couple of points to bring up. One from the game comparison and the TV show adaptation. In the game, if you remember, Ellie has the map with her. It's something that
Yep.
you collect and you use throughout your trip in Seattle. Um, so the fact that the map is on the table, it's referencing something that Owen, Mel, Abby, and all their, the rest of their group are planning. And if you remember in the game, this is at the point where Owen had already fully decided that he was leaving the WLF and they were going to cut ties. And Mel is still conflicted because she doesn't quite want to go, but she's looking for some sort of ownership for Owen because they're still together, right?
Well, and I don't know if you caught this
yeah,
when they're talking. She wants to go with Owen, but not if Abby's going to go with them. It was super quick in the dialogue, meaning we're going to have that kind of relationship unfold, that little triangle esque thing that kind of happens.
Yeah,
So,
and that's relevant in the game too. But Mel's not an aggressive person. Uh,
no.
But so yeah, even though that the change is Ellie doesn't have the map, it's on the table. So when she asks that and pulls the Joel move, and then just happenstance, it's basically Mel's death is collateral. She's collateral damage, raising Mel in the neck and causing her to bleed out. This is what I found interesting, and also correlating with the title of the episode, Convergence, is in the first scene with Dina and Jesse. Dina is not just thinking about her own survival; she's thinking about her future
Yep.
baby's survival. And in this scene with Mel, once she collapses, she then tells Ellie, "You need to like get the baby out," because then
Mm-hmm.
and here I guess this was like one of my gripes is the reveal of Mel's pregnancy in the game. Obviously, once
very
Ellie,
early.
yeah, once
Yeah.
once Ellie kills Owen, Mel, in retaliation, comes at her, and then Ellie is then forced in that struggle to stab Mel to stop her from trying to kill her, and then realizes when she steps away, like once she crawls away, she realizes that she's got like a bump. And then after Mel dies, like Ellie opens her jacket and then sees that she's pregnant. So
Yep.
there was no other additional dialogue. So the dialogue that Mel gives Ellie in this scene is for the baby's survival. Like it's already too late,
And she's
and with
even hallucinating. At one point, she's like, "Ah, is it out? Good, that's good." And I'm like, "No, the
yeah,
baby ain't out. The baby's still in the oven."
well, well, the oven's gonna turn off essentially, and the baby will remain undercooked. I'm not adding this in. That's
Oh my
horrible.
god!
That's horrible to say. I can't believe you just said that, Nick.
I did not say anything. That was all on you.
But I did think that it made sense when Ellie was just
Yeah.
fearful. She started crying. She was emotional. She's a teenager. How does she
And
know
I
how to
and
operate?
here's the
How does
thing,
she know how
I
to do a C-section?
loved how Tommy comes to her side at the end of it, like the reveal, like Tommy's good.
Yeah.
Now, is that in the game?
No.
Yeah, it's in
Oh,
the game. Like
is it?
once Ellie takes care of Mel and Owen, she's kind of like in shock when she sees that Mel was pregnant, and shortly after, Jesse
Oh,
and
yeah,
Tommy
you're
come
right.
to get her, and that's when Ellie leaves the map behind, and that's how Abby is able to
Mm,
find out where their location is, which leads to my next point, How does Abby make it to the theater?
I think it's
Abby-
because of Tommy. Maybe he left his map to the theater or something.
Okay.
Well, I
Okay,
mean, we're
maybe.
not gonna. I mean, the whole thing is
Let's
what
not write the show for them,
I know,
Nick.
I know,
no. But I mean, I'm not so concerned about that because we're gonna have a whole season where they're gonna explain that. That's the big kind of cliffhanger is how the heck did she get there?
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. I think. Uh, Actually, let's talk through this scene and then I'll tell you what I'm like.
Well,
Okay.
I mean, once Tommy and Jesse come to Ellie, they make their way back to the theater, and we
I was
see
sweating. I was like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah,
I was nervous the whole time. And I told
yeah,
Nicole, I was like,
yeah,
you might want to
same.
pay attention to this because maybe if I pop,
Yeah, yep.
okay,
someone's gonna die.
okay, but did either of you? Because I didn't, but did either of you check the runtime? How much was available left?
Well, it showed when I was starting it, and I was like, oh, that's a lot like shorter episode than other ones, only 50
It
minutes.
was the
And so
shortest.
I
Yeah,
was when we
yeah.
were there, I was like, all right, it's coming, it's any second. Yeah.
But a couple of important parts that I wanted to bring up is throughout the episode, we see a lot of conflict and disagreements with Jesse and Ellie. But at on the theater stage, Jesse and Ellie share words, and Jesse confesses to Ellie that, you know what, like, I realize that um, even though your priorities may seem out of whack, I realize that if I were in Joel's position, or if I was missing, if I was lost, that you would go through hell to try to find me. And she's like, yeah, I would. I don't believe it. But
No, but it is a it's a okay, this is irrational and this is flawed, but like there is value to be had in it. Like if I would like for someone to do that for me.
Yeah.
Like that vulnerability. I appreciated that because that is this moral argument of like who's in the right, and it's like, well, you're kind of both in the right. Like one is rationally right and one's emotionally right, and because again, this is all about like humanity. This is as much as this is a strategic like survival. There's also a humanity piece from it,
Yeah.
and this is kind of that like showing face. So no, I liked when he said that because I'm like, look, I'm like, yeah, it doesn't make sense, but you know what? Like, a lot of things in humanity doesn't make sense, but in this situation, hey, it would feel good to have someone carry me for that much to have justice be done. And so
yeah,
when he says that, it's like, you know what? Like scorched earth doesn't make sense, but if it was me, I'd feel a little good knowing that someone would care enough about me to do that. And so I think it was a great kind of compromise of that argument they were having. That kind of really develops Jesse's character, which is sad given the next minute that's going to happen
Yeah.
to him.
but
Yeah.
but
You know,
before we get to that, even before the Ellie and Jesse conversation that we just discussed, all four of them are in the theater, planning out like, okay, we're gonna leave. We're gonna leave tomorrow. Go back to Jackson, and that's the last we see of Dina for the rest of the episode.
Oh yeah.
So, um, us as viewers are kind of left to imply, well, where's Dina? Like,
Right with
did Ab-
love.
did, did Abby kill her too? Is she still
Yeah.
hiding? Is she sleeping? What's going on?
And I found out why they
Um,
didn't show Lev, by the way. It's because they haven't even what do you call it, casted Lev
her yet?
yet. Mm-mm.
I mean, they already have the actor, but I guess they don't want to go for her. Him,
Him, her.
yeah, yeah,
her.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, one of the lines that was delivered that I was glad it was, but I just didn't feel like it was received the same way, is when Tommy says like, we're gonna leave, but all of this, and you're gonna have to let Abby, like, after all of this is done, Abby still lives. Like, are you gonna be okay with that? And Ellie says like, I guess I have to be. Like,
Mm,
I don't know. I just didn't buy it.
No, I
Um,
didn't buy it either.
same.
Didn't buy
it
it.
just seemed, I don't know. It was one of
Maybe
those.
that's the point. Maybe that's the point. Maybe, well, not so much for him, but for her, for us to know that she doesn't buy it.
I
like to
guess
know that this isn't
more or
over.
less what I'm getting to is just like the line delivery, just the way it was delivered, I guess, is what I'm peeving about. Uh, but yeah, I think it's important for everyone to know that Ellie's not okay, that she is still alive, but she realizes that they have to leave for for Dina's safety and for all of their safety, to mention. And then shortly after, we
Mm-hmm.
get we hear a gunshot, and Jesse and Ellie run, guns drawn, run through past the stadium seats into the door. Boom.
Boom. Jesse's
Jesse is
dead.
immediately shot as soon as he enters the door, and then Ellie takes cover behind the bar. Abby is seen hovering over Tommy, gun pointed at him, claiming for Ellie to come out. And we just, and oh my god, I can't tell you, in this scene I was just so happy. I was so happy to see Abby.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
and
I will say I do like Laura Bailey's um delivery of this line more. I think that this girl Abby does a great job. I think she's a strong actress and a strong character, but there was something about the way the video game portrayed where you could see the kind of the churning and being like, what the like,
Yeah.
why the fuck are you here? You did this, like you fucking, and then she's like, you killed my friends and I let you live and you
Because they
fucking
changed
wasted
it in
it.
the show because she thought that Jesse killed her or Tommy killed her friends, you know?
Uh, but it's just the way, like the pause. There's like this little pause and this little like hiccup that Abby has in the
Mm-hmm.
video game where she's just like, "Are you serious? Like, are you kidding me?" And just almost like a betrayal of just the generosity.
the
I feel
source
like you,
material.
yeah, I feel like you don't feel that betrayal as hard, or you don't have a time to, as a viewer, emotionally like absorb as quickly because she kind of just goes like, "You wasted it." It
Mhm.
feels like it's a little more rushed of that line, but obviously, I still think this Abby's a pretty good Abby, and this was a like almost like to a T the exact same scene as the video game,
Mm-hmm.
and I think we're all gonna be my biggest gripe about this episode, believe it or not, is not the other two scenes. It's how this scene ends. And then they show her, and I'm going, you do not need to show this. Like, if you're going to end
I
it on a cliffhanger, just
I know.
fucking end it. Like, don't
Yeah,
go,
I know.
okay, we're going to
I
start the
thought
next part. I'm like,
I
ugh.
thought
I
I
actually was
thought
okay with it.
Nope. I was
I
like,
thought the
mm-mm.
stadium stuff was going to be episode 1 of season 3, by the way.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
It will, but I think this was and I think it was necessary, at least for the writing angle, because you don't want to show the end of the conflict if the story is not finishing. You want to savor that, right? So, as far as cliffhangers go, they did a good job at edging us, and then showing us a
They didn't want to
flashback.
pull a Negan like how The Walking Dead did, where it faded to black and we had to wait all summer for
Yeah,
Okay.
Glenn
Okay.
and
You know what?
them. So that's
I'll
why they cut to Abby. So it's like, okay, it's not just fade to black because people kind of get pissed on that a little bit, I
yeah, because
guess.
I'll take that argument. I'll take that because I would actually be more
Yeah.
pissed if we had a whole year of or 2 years of cliffhanger and then it doesn't show that right when it starts.
Yeah, because
yeah,
So
they're going to show the aftermath of that shot until the end of season 3, which would be, I'm gonna guess, probably spring 2027, pretty much.
ugh, God, we're gonna have to wait that long for this
Yeah,
arc.
yeah. Because think
well,
about it, the
Yeah.
first season was 2023, so it's 2 year gaps in between.
I'm not even gonna to be honest, guys. I'm not even gonna set a timeline. I'm just thinking 2 years out.
Yeah.
Whenever we get it, we get it,
Hmm.
because at at this point when they show the flashback, I thought that that was just to set up the next season. And in retrospect, I think that they can execute 3 days in Seattle in the first 4 episodes of season 3, with also showing the growing conflict of the WLF, more of the Seraphites, maybe more infected. Because if you realized after after episode 5, we get no more infected. They don't exist
Yeah.
anymore.
Well, don't forget what they said about the infected. They didn't want it to be like the game where you think it's going to be like an encounter. So that's why they're only sprinkling in the infected. And plus, if you think about it too, the second game isn't really about the infected. It's about that revenge tour that Ellie has to go after her killer, or Joel's killer and everything else in that cycle. So
I
that's
get
probably
it.
why we're not getting the infected, but who
I,
knows what we're getting a big one for sure.
no, no,
But
no, no, no.
yeah,
I'm not saying that I'm upset with them not showing the infected in the last 2 episodes. What I'm saying is it defeats the purpose of reminding the viewers of a constant threat that they have to
oh
navigate
yeah,
around.
yeah,
I feel like even if they're not going to have an encounter with infected, that they should still be referenced. Hey, maybe we should go this way to avoid the infected. That I don't know. That's all I'm trying to point out is in between episodes where we don't see it, it's like it doesn't exist anymore. Especially when
gotcha,
they make
yeah,
noise when they're walking around the city. Like
Mhm.
no,
I guess
yeah,
that's my continuity gripe is when they don't show threats that are present in some episodes because it needs to be shown, and then just it non-existent in others. That's all.
yeah.
Mhm.
No, I get it.
Um, but I mean, looking forward into the future season, if they really do go the route of 3 seasons for this second game, um, I mean, personally, I think it's a method of staying relevant for like market capitalization of just staying relevant and also capitalizing on like future profits from from the second and third seasons after this. It's just to just draw it out. I can't.
I'm okay with it if they release it in shorter intervals.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah,
it doesn't need to take 6 years to tell a story that we already know. That's what I'm most upset about, if the rumors are true that it's gonna last more than 2 seasons to tell one story.
Yeah, because they're already fighting a dying genre. Like this is gonna be hard to keep people, especially with the way that
yeah,
this, like the season one did have almost a full kind of resolution of of a story that happened. This one didn't resolve the story. And so you're gonna tell me I have to wait 2 years to just have a
mm-hmm.
continuation of that? Like when you did that for season 1 and you're not you killed off some of my characters. It's just 'cause that's gonna be a hard sell. If they can
Right.
do it in a year, I think
And
that'll be easier pill to swallow.
the thing is too, like newer viewers who haven't played the games, and I'm already seeing it online, is a lot of people are saying, "What is the show now without Ellie and Joel? If we're just getting a full season of Abby, like it's not The Last of Us now; it's just the Abby show." So there's going to be that aspect to the show as well, where viewers might not care for the Abby aspect of it, but we'll have to see.
I mean, before it comes out, it's all gonna be speculation, and thankfully, there's gonna be enough time for people to just forget about it, because to
Mhm.
be honest, once I watch the finale, when was it? Sunday? It's already Thursday right now at the day of recording. No,
It's
Wednesday,
Wednesday.
sorry.
Yeah,
I'm all
Wednesday.
thrown off. Um, I already forgot a lot of things about this episode, and that's not a good sign, for a finale. So, but it's not a finale. We know the finale, but that's
No,
not
it's
going
a
to come
cliff.
until
It's
later.
this is a cliffhanger. It's not a finale.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a hanging
Yeah.
chad.
Yeah.
it's the forever hanging Chad, and the only the only thing I have to say for this season is I enjoyed what they did with building Jackson, making Jackson a like an actual place. Like they did service to it in the game only if you walked around and explored it. But if you didn't, it's a linear game. So if you didn't take the time to explore it, you don't really get to feel Jackson. But I felt like they capitalized on showing where this safe haven is and what it's about and the people involved in it. I did like that thinking back in it. Hands down, Pedro Pascal is still a primary force in this show. Yes, it is going to be different to see less of him, but if you really think about it, he's doing well. He's cast in a lot of movies right now, so schedule-wise, he's
You'll see
probably
Joel in Fantastic Four. You'll see Joel in other things or
You'll see Joel
whatnot.
in The Materialist. You'll see Joel in God knows what else he's coming out with.
Yeah.
But anyways, it's one of those things, guys. Like, it sucks that we have to wait. I mean, assumingly that we're still doing the show at that point in 2 years' time. But it's just I'm just like left like it's still like that level of unsatisfaction because you intentionally shorten the seasons. For what reason? Maybe for impact. I don't know. But the fact that Craig Mason only agreed to 2 seasons makes me believe that it is only going to be 2 seasons long to tell the story of the second game. But who knows? Maybe there will be an additional one.
Yeah. Maybe
I
they were waiting for
isn't.
reception to see if they can get the green light.
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking too.
I really hope they don't. But if they go into this next season, the same way Squid Game season 2 came out, where it's like, okay, we're gonna tell half a story, but then we'll give you the rest of the story later in the year. I don't like this approach, but there's a lot that I don't understand about what it takes to start a show, produce it, get it filmed, get the scheduling of all the actors. Like, I get it takes a lot of time and it's a lot more expensive than you realize. But it was okay. Overall, this season was okay.
Yeah, so season 1, I gave it a 9 out of 10. This season, I give it a generous 7.5. Generous 7.5. But
I say 7. Solid 7 for
yeah,
me.
solid 7 though. Yeah.
What
What
if
about
I
you, Jacob?
was what if I was like, I give it a 6 out of 14? It's like, what is this scale? I give it a 6. I give it a 6 out of 8.
I give it
I give season 2 a 15
I
out
give it
of
a
23.
3.14159, just
All
pi.
right.
I give it
Yeah,
pi.
yeah. I would say season 1 was a bit better. Let's see. I don't know if I want to give it a 9 though.
I give it a
I'll give it an
9.
8.5. And then this season, I'll give it like a 7, maybe a 6.5. I don't. It's It was good. No, I'm being too hard on it. I'll give it the same. I'll do 9 and 7. It wasn't as strong as season 1, but what they had to
Yeah.
work with was a little bit different. There was a lot of other great strengths, and to be honest, we're so spoiled with TV shows. Like
Oh, I
this
know. Yeah.
could have gone a lot worse. So
Oh yeah, it could have. Yeah.
yeah. So we got to give credit where credit's due. But
Yeah.
dear whoever's the execs, just don't make us wait 2 years. Like if you're gonna
Yeah.
give us a cliffhanger like that and you're gonna leave it unresolved, don't make the audience wait 2 years and then go like Abby's a strong character, but you're gonna lose a lot of people if you make us wait 2 years and then do an Abby perspective for like
Yeah.
half of it. Like no, there's no. Just make it a year and you'll be fine. Like don't. Yeah, come on, don't squeeze this like that.
Yeah,
I agree.
I agree with you. I mean, I don't know what else. I don't know what else Caitlin Deaver is working on really.
I give it a 7 iron out of 10.
7 iron.
I thought it was a 6 iron, so
Yeah, it's more than a third, but it's like at least half the story. I think that they hit really good points, but then missed out on several others. And again, this is only coming from the critical side of me, but this is what happens when you have multiple writers on one story.
Yeah.
You're always going to get mixed reactions because it's not going to feel the same because it's being told by multiple different POVs.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing to take away from this season is we knew it was good when it was good, and we noticed when it wasn't.
Yep.
And the only relevance is when we look at who was writing and who was directing. So I don't know. Well, you know what, guys? Since we've started this discussion series, really enjoyed that we made this a group activity.
Yeah.
I hope we can do this again, not for a TV show, but something else we're like really passionate of.
Mhm.
That's my biggest takeaway is regardless of the ups and downs of the show, the constant is that you guys were here to talk it through with me. So that's
Although the
yeah.
theme was a cycle of violence, there were friends made along. Even though a lot of people died, there was a lot of
The
friendships
end.
made along the way.
And
We did
to
get
close this
canceled.
out, Buzz Lightyear did make it
On
to
Star
space.
Command.
Good night, everyone. No. Oh, God.
Fuck.
All right. Well, thank you again, everyone. And we hope you enjoyed this discussion of Last of Us. I know there's several other people that are doing this now. But we'll be relieved to talk about something else after this for the next recording. And until that time, you guys take care.
Later.